Okay, thank you so much, Esther. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So my name is Mubo. I'm the founder and CEO of Peak Performancer and Cyber Career Path. Today, I have with me a special guest. She's a cybersecurity expert. She's a sister. She's a friend. She's a colleague. And she's a brilliant lady. I'm telling you, in this cybersecurity realm, you have people who are brilliant. She's brilliant. Okay. So without much ado, Esther, please tell us briefly about yourself. How many years have you been in cybersecurity space and all the good stuff?
Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Mbata. I like to introduce myself as a child of God. And I have been in cybersecurity for about, oh my gosh, over 15 years now.
Ooh, that long?
Prior to that, I used to be a lawyer.
Wow.
And I always tell everyone that I pivoted from law into cybersecurity because I wanted that flexibility. Law did not afford me that opportunity. So as cybersecurity has, but I have been in this field for right over 15 years now.
Wow.
And it's been amazing. I mean, obviously any career has its challenges and all whatnot, but I think I'm in my happy place.
Wow. I always say to people that, it doesn't matter your background. There is room for everyone in cybersecurity. It's like being in the military, where you have different branches of the military that you can go to. So you're not confined to just one. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that you were on the law path, actually a lawyer, and then you transitioned into cybersecurity. That is just awesome. So, I mean, speaking about the diversity in cybersecurity, and it's been such a huge space, how did you narrow down on becoming a security control assessor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I started, I'm thinking about time, right? So I'm trying to cut my story to be very short and pick out like the most important parts that I think will be beneficial for your audience. When I started about 15 years ago, I took a program with one of the many, and it could be anybody or any, company that you go and decide to take a cybersecurity course with. So I did those things. And at that time, it was around almost $1,500, right? And it was like, what are you going to lose? That was my question. What am I going to lose outside of that $15,000, $1,500? Sorry, not 15,000. My bad. Outside of that $1,500, what really was I going to lose? I kept asking myself that question. And as ladies, we've spent money on $1,500 on shoes.
That's right.
$1,500 on purses, on clothes. That now we don't even know where they are, right? We don't know where those shoes are, where those purses are. So I'm like, if what I will lose from this is $1,500, then so be it, because I was ready. I was determined at that point. And I think that's the most important thing, is that your commitment and determination really plays a huge part as to when you're ready to pivot from one career to another. Wow. And I always get the question, oh, when you move from law, I'm like, yeah, law for me wasn't like all that rosy, I think because I was such a young lawyer at that time, and I was trained in England. So coming over here to the United States, it was extremely difficult because my options were very, very limited, and so I left law and I moved into banking because it was very frustrating. So banking for a very short while, and I'm like, you know what? There has to be something better, for myself, for my children, in order for me to raise my family, the way that I wanted to and the way that I intended. I switched careers. So when I moved from law into cybersecurity, when I started that course, they teach you everything. It's a wide range of, technical part and not technical parts of cybersecurity. You have to get through all of it. And the goal was, for me at the end, understanding that, okay, my strength was in compliance, right? Again, because of my legal background, compliance for me was just extremely easy,
Wow.
or more doable for me, right? So and that's where the RMF comes in, right? I'm like, okay, you know what, I got this. I think I can do this, right? Funny
Well,
enough, the first
mhm.
go ahead.
What's RMF? For those who don't know, what's RMF?
Risk management framework is this, 6 steps to get you from point A to point Z, to cut the long story short. But there's so many, teeny weeny bits in between that you have to, read up on.
Mhm.
So I knew that that was where my strength was,
Mhm.
and not the technical part of it.
Mhm.
But funny enough, the first job that I got was as a cybersecurity engineer
Oh, wow.
doing,
Okay.
yeah, and it was in Splunk.
Wow. Okay.
And Splunk was almost brand new back then.
Mhm.
But I was like, you know what, I got this.
Mm.
And being outside and you hear all of the technical terms and everything. You hear Nessus and you hear Splunk and all these beautiful names that you hear. You tend to get very nervous. But I promise you, these are all just tools,
Mm.
that have already been set up for you. So you're literally going to just click.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Yeah. So that's how I pivot. That's what I started with.
Mhm.
And then gradually I moved on from that, moved to an ISSO role,
Mhm.
moved to the analyst role, and
Mhm.
I finally settled in security assessment.
Okay. Okay.
Security assessments now I've been doing for about maybe 7 years, and I do it with my eyes closed sometimes,
Ah,
you
okay.
know. Yeah, because it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. The only difference are the systems and how they implement, the controls and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the main focus today, I mean, you've said dropped so many gems that, I'm so thankful. But one of the things that I want to really focus on is, the day-to-day in the life of a security control assessor. When you get in the morning, and you have a project, you're an independent contractor hired to come in and assess the systems and making sure everything is working well. What are the steps? What do you do?
Um, so you get a system, right?
Mhm.
You have a system, one system or two systems, or three or four systems, however many systems you have to assess.
Mhm.
So the first things first is, once you're assigned a system, you have to have what's called like a kickoff meeting
Mhm.
with the clients.
Okay.
And after you kick off on that system, you have to, now create like a system security assessment plan.
Okay.
How do you go about, what do you want to see, what assumptions do you want to see, and then what is your schedule for this assessment?
Okay.
What are the controls that are in place that will be assessed?
Mhm.
So these are things that have right off the back you have to, you know kind of understand and deal with, and let your clients know that this is the plan for this assessment. So now all that is already in place. So I come in, and any systems can take anywhere between 60 days or 2 months to 6 months, depending on how big the system is, right? And being that we're now Rev 5, and so many, by Rev 5, I mean the NIST,
Mhm. The guideline.
SP, Revision 5, yeah. Um, Many systems are now Rev 5, so it's bigger,
Mm.
right? Everything, things have changed in terms of like the lingua that is in, all of these controls for you to assess. So
Mm.
I come in each day, knowing exactly, I have a to-do list every day.
Mm.
As old as I am in this field, I think it is so important, because especially if you have more than one system running at a time, for an assessment, you have to have a to-do list as to how many controls are you going to look at for that system for that day. What are the things that are missing? What artifacts are you going to look at? And I always advise anyone that I work with to stagger their assessments.
Mm.
Don't start two assessments at the same time or on the same day,
Mm.
right? Start one week and then wait 2 weeks and then start another one. So that way you're in different times for different systems. So
Mm.
when I come in each day, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know how many controls I'm going to look at. I know what systems I'm working on. If I have weekly meetings with the clients, that will happen that day.
Mm.
Um, and so that's pretty much it. It sounds easy when I say it this way, but when you actually start the assessment, it's not really as straightforward as I make it sound.
Mm.
But it is doable. I always say it is very doable.
Okay. So what are the documents that you have to be familiar with when doing an assessment?
I think the biggest one is the system security plan. This is the biggest document for any system because it contains like the categorization of the system. It contains the system description. It contains the boundary diagram of that system, so you see where the system sits within the boundary. Then it contains like the controls that are in scope for that assessment and the implementation statements that will tell you how each of those controls are implemented within that system. It will tell you the applicability of those controls, whether they are applicable to that system, whether they are not applicable, hybrid and or system specific or common controls.
Okay. So who chooses the controls? Do you as an assessor have to choose the controls for that system, or it's already chosen by the system owner and you just come in and make sure that they're implementing those controls well?
The controls are already chosen.
Okay.
We have, as an assessor, we have no business choosing controls because that is a conflict of interest. Now, what I can tell you is if I see that a system doesn't have, for instance, -1 controls, especially procedural controls, not policy -1s, but procedure -1s, I'm going to ask, where are your -1 controls? Or if I see that there are controls missing or controls have been marked wrong in terms like if someone would say, oh, like AC2 is not applicable. I'm like, that is account management. Why is that not applicable? So that's where our questions will come in. But in terms of selecting like the baseline controls for that, the controls in scope for the assessment, that is not our purview. That is on the ISSO and the system team to complete.
Okay, so another quick question that I have is, so you've done your assessments and then what do you give to them? How do you communicate to the system owner that, okay, everything seems to be in place, or you know what, you have to do this, you have to do that, this wasn't in place, the control is not working well. How do you communicate that? Is there a certain document that you have to give to the control owner or the control owner, the system owner at the end of your assessment?
At the end of the assessment, yes. But I always advise people through the course of the assessment, let the system owner or the point of contact for that assessment. As you progress through the assessment, they will know exactly what controls are likely to fail at the end or towards the end. So at the end of that assessment, you have like a security assessment report that you give to the client. And this clearly marks out what controls have failed, and what controls have passed. Satisfied other than satisfied, different lingers, different places, right? So you have that, and you have a poem report that you provide to them. That states it's not a poem. I like to call it a poem report and not a poem per se, because we don't go into any tools to fill out all of the requirements for a poem, but a poem report is like a basic spreadsheet that will list out the controls that have failed and list out why they failed, and also list out recommended mitigations for all of those controls. So you have the security assessment report, you have a poem report. Now, sometimes you have an executive summary. It depends on what is agreed upon prior to the start of the assessment. But I like to present a security assessment report and a poem report.
Okay. Wow. I mean, again, like you said in the beginning, you make it sound so easy, like anybody can. Like anybody can totally do this. And I mean, you know, like as you said in the beginning, being able to transition from one career into the other and just hitting the ground running, doing the short term training that kind of like gave you leverage to be able to come in. So I mean, so coming from the field of, or coming from being a lawyer, were there transferable skills that, you know, were very applicable to this role?
Yes, reading. A lot of reading, a lot of crossing your T's and dotting your I's, to catch like the slightest things that, that you say, okay, you know what, this is a mistake or this does not sound right. Why are you saying this way when it should be this way? Things like that. And that's what I mean. Like, that's why compliance for me, the compliance side of cybersecurity was very easy, because I was able to transition, from my legal career to this one, because we read a lot. You have to read a lot and kind of like catch little nuances here and there. Okay, this is not right, or this is right, and so on.
Okay. So the last Well, it's not a question. It's just for people, watching this and looking to transition into cybersecurity and have that niche as a security control assessor. What last word or advice can you give them?
Do it. Just do it.
Do it.
I mean, you gotta ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen?
Mm.
And when you genuinely ask yourself that question, the
Mhm.
worst is not really that bad. It really isn't. Especially if you're really determined. If you feel like you're not satisfied where you are,
Mhm.
and you feel like cyber, now it's not for everyone. There are
Mm.
people that I have, pulled into cybersecurity, and they're like, I can't do this. I
Mm.
like to go into an office every day. I don't want to be at home every day, or it's too much reading for me, or I don't understand the tools or whatever. But at least try, give it a chance, right? Especially for I always speak to a lot of moms who want that flexibility. Moms with young kids, your younger children.
Mhm.
I want to have more time with them at home, or just do not want that daily grind and
Mhm.
hustle of having to wake up and just be on the move all the time. So I
Mhm.
always say just do it, just try it out, and if it's not for you, then you keep it moving, right? And eventually you find something that works for you. But I think cybersecurity is it, and I was like, just do it, just do what you need to do.
Yeah. Esther, thank you so much. I know that, you kind of like created this little time for us to, talk. I'm
I know.
really,
And I gotta say, Marianne, if there are specific questions, because I know we couldn't really delve into a lot, but I know many people have very specific questions. If there are, we can always jump on another quick call and address people's specific questions. I
yeah.
don't mind.
Oh,
Okay, and then we'll have like a longer window.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, there you have it. My friend, sister, friend, expert in her field, Esther Mbata. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much. And you've heard, if you have any,
Thank you for having
I
me.
know, yeah, I know you guys are going to have questions. So please, just keep your questions coming. And then, we can definitely get on another call. Esther, thank you so much. I know you have to go. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you on the other side.
My absolute pleasure. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.